more on the low voltage wiring. This would be like, I guess, a part 2. In the last one we did a heat only setup on a furnace and an electric heat, which is still an electric furnace. Like I said, you'll find them in mobile homes, manufactured homes, for as far as the electric furnace. But now let's throw in some air conditioning with it. The gas furnaces, I've seen them plenty of times in a mechanic garage where they just needed some heat in the wintertime on those concrete floors. So what we're going to look at now is this unit here. I'm going to step back a little bit. If I were to send a new student or a new technician out to this one, you got to take it for what it is. So what this is, you can see the gas line on the side. This is obviously a gas furnace. How big of a furnace or how many stages of heat, we'll look at that in just a second. But you can also see I've got some copper lines connecting to it. I've got a float switch and some PVC drain lines over there coming off of the primary drain pan. So this obviously has some type of air conditioning with it. So by looking at it, we can identify what kind of system it is, and that'll tell us how to wire it, how to program the thermostat. Okay, so let's get a little closer look, and we're going to look inside the furnace and find out just how much heat we have, how many stages of heat specifically. So hang tight and we'll get to that. All right, let's look at this. Take the top cover off and I can see a gas valve. Looks to be single stage. And if I take the bottom where the controls are, where the service panel is, we can see the terminal block on the furnace board. We can see the transformer, the blower, the capacitor, everything like that. So as I look right here, I've basically, the first unit I did was a train. So it kind of started out with the W, R, G. This one is set up a little bit different on the terminal block, but it's essentially the same. I've got 5 screws here. I've got my power. My power hot is R. My power common is common, the C. I've got W, G, and Y. So this looks to be just a simple single stage heating system. All right, but it also has the air conditioner attached to it. So how do you know what to wire as far as the air conditioning? Well, you got to go look at the air conditioner. So let's take a look outside. We're going to follow the line set. If this was an apartment building, a light commercial strip mall, whatever the case is, all you got to do is follow the line set to where the unit's at. Look at the unit and it'll tell you what it is. So let's follow it outside. And here's the lines coming down, going into this unit. And this is an old Rudd furnace and a Rudd air conditioner. If I look down here, I don't see any reversing valve. If I look inside the electrical service area, I see a contactor and a capacitor. I don't see any type of defrost board or anything that's out of the ordinary for an air conditioner. This is pretty much straightforward. I've got a couple safety switches out here, high pressure and low pressure, but you can see the service valves here. That's the vapor line coming in. It goes straight into the compressor. The discharge line goes straight into the condenser, and I've got my liquid line coming out. So this is just an air conditioner. Typical, new construction install. Oh, excuse me. Typical new construction install or change out. The installers have left me the thermostat wire. I've got my 2 connections over here where I'm going to actually wire my Y and common in. But it's pretty straightforward. I just need a little piece of thermostat wire to create a junction there. I'll show you what I'm going to do with that one. But now that I know that I've got a single stage air conditioner and a single stage furnace, we can wire this thing up with the 5 terminals that you should know by now. So hang tight, we got some wiring to do. On this particular unit, we've identified it as a single stage heat, single stage cool. What you're going to have that's different from the heat only systems we had. On the heat only, you had a thermostat wire going from the thermostat, which would typically be in a hallway, on a wall. It has to run to the indoor unit where the transformer and such are. On a split system, now we've got an air conditioner attached to a furnace. So now I have a thermostat wire running from the thermostat to the indoor unit, and then also from the indoor unit to the outdoor unit. So you're going to have 2 sets of thermostat wires now to wire. We're going to focus on the one from the thermostat to the indoor unit, to the air handler, furnace, whatever. What do we need for the thermostat to have control over this heat-cool system? Well, for our thermostat wire that goes from the thermostat's the brain, so it has to control everything. So what are we trying to control? Well, just like the heat only unit, right? This is a furnace. It's no different than the one we did before. I'm going to have power, that's R. I've got to have a common to that. I use the black wire, so that's my 24 hot and common that will power the thermostat so it can think and do its job. I've got to have heat, because that's a furnace. It's a single stage, so I've got one heat, so I've got one W, one white wire. I've got to have indoor fan control, so I've got my G, my indoor fan relay circuit. And in this case, we're going to add in a cooling circuit. We're going to add in an air conditioner, so that's going to be a Y. We use the Y terminal to control our cooling. So as far as my one heat, one cool circuit, the only thing different this from the heat only system with a furnace is that we're adding the air conditioner. We're adding the Y. Okay, so these other three wires are spares. So we're going to basically don't cut them off. Keep them for a rainy day, because you never know when somebody's going to hang a picture with it, or hang a picture with a nail and hit that wire or something. So we're going to strip all these wires. This will be on our thermostat end, and we'll have to do the same for the end that's going to terminate on our circuit board in the furnace. So we're going to take those, just like I said before, once you strip that sheathing off that end, I try to cut a little bit back because all of those wires are nicked. That'll be an electrical short one day. So cut them loose, get rid of that sheathing jacket. Okay, I try to have about a palm's width worth of wire, and that way I can fan everything out. Looks like the NBC peacock, you know what I'm saying? Just know you're not trying to fight yourself with wire nut connections or any other kind of connections. Okay, so basically we're going to take the same wires that we did on the other end. We're not using blue, we're using black for common. We're not using brown, we're using red for our 24 volt hot. We're using the W for our heat, we're using Y for our cooling, for our contactor, and we're using green for our indoor fan. So the same three wires you had on one end as a spare, you should have on this end. So blue, orange, and brown, that's my spare wires. Just wrap them around. Try to keep it neat, be professional. And then we're going to strip these wires somewhere between 1/4 and 3/8 of an inch. Just enough to get on the thermostat. Okay. So I'm going to take this thermostat off, and we're going to wire these 5 wires into the appropriate thermostat terminals. All right. So through here. All right. So we're going to use basically these grayed out areas on this particular T4 thermostat. So we got R and W, and then over here we got common, G, and Y. Okay, so I'm going to put my common in. I'm going to put my G. And these are great compared to the old ones because you don't have to worry about any screws. And I've got my Y. All right. And then over on this side I've got my R and W. So I'm going to put in R. And I'm going to put in W. Alright, and you would, as best you can, keep it as neat as possible, as short as possible, but long enough to move the wires. And we have those on the proper conventional terminals. And we can go ahead and put our faceplate back on. In here inside the unit, we're going to wire up. We're going to wire to our terminal block and get those wires terminated there. All right, my apologies. Y'all didn't see it because of the video editing, but I had to go eat some food truck tacos. So if you get you a chance to go get you some tacos de lengua, that's beef tongue tacos, I highly recommend it. But anyway, back to the wiring. I've got the thermostat wired on this end, at the thermostat end. And we've got our same 5 wires that go to the furnace on the inside for the heat. So what I'm going to do real quick is I'm going to tie in all these wires under those screws. Okay, so let's go ahead and we're going to put the yellow wire under the Y terminal. Pretty much just like the heat only, except we added the yellow wire. All right. Now, that's the thermostat wire that goes from the thermostat to the actual furnace. What you'd actually have to do now is find the outdoor unit wire that goes from the furnace to the air conditioner outside. You would actually need to find that, and since we know that we're only running an air conditioner outside, we're going to use the Y and common. Okay, those are the two terminals on here that we're going to use, and typically we use the yellow wire on the Y and whatever color you use for common. As long as you hook it up outside, you should be fine. So let's go ahead and I'm going to use black for the common, and I'm going to use my yellow for my Y. All right. Wrap those wires around and save them for later if we ever needed a spare wire. Okay. So what we would do now is wire the yellow and black into the same terminal spots on the board that we wired the yellow and the black, or the Y and the common, from the thermostat. It's the same as putting in a wire nut in an air handler situation. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to loosen that screw that the Y is on, or that the Y is. And I'm going to add in that yellow, and the same thing with the common. Okay, I'm going to loosen that that screw on the C and add in this black wire for my common, and this of course, like I said, is going outside. So two thermostat. I don't need the G in here because there is no indoor fan on the outdoor unit. I don't need the red because I'm not powering anything other than the contactor coil, which the Y will power. I don't need heat because it's an air conditioner, so you have to know the circuits involved. So now that we've got those wired in, and I'm not wiring in a float switch or anything, so it's just straightforward wiring. But we got to go outside before we turn the power on. We got to make sure that all the wires are properly terminated. So we're going to go outside and do that. All right, so here we go out here. We've got our factory wiring here. Our yellow will be with the whatever color wire we put on the Y terminal inside. So we kept it color coded, so it's going to be the yellow. And out here they use brown coming off of the contactor, but I used the black wire for my common. So we're going to tie my black wire in with their brown. All right. But look at this. We're at the end of our wire. We couldn't possibly make it work. Okay. So what we have to do here is a junction. Pretty standard, but anytime you do a junction in the field, right, hook up as many wires as possible at that point and only use what you need at the ends. Okay, so here, let me explain what I'm gonna do. I know that because of me and the type of system that I'm in, it's only an air conditioner. So I really only need the yellow and the brown. I could easily attach, or excuse me, the yellow and the black. I could easily just pull out my yellow and my black and attach a 2-wire thermostat wire from here into the unit through the grommet and attach it to the contactor coil or the contactor wires. But in my case, I don't have a 2-wire. I've got a 3-wire. I've got a red, green, and white situation here. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, because I've got 3 wires on the piece that I'm extending my original thermostat wire with, I'm going to attach all 3, because at least I'll have one spare if this was in the wall or ever gets closed in or whatever. Okay, so I'm going to pull that nylon piece, I'm going to cut those off, and I'm going to attach the 3 wires that I'm using here at this junction point. All right. So I know I'm using my yellow and black as my 24 volts to power my contactor, and I'm just going to keep this easy. I'm just going to pull another one. We're going to call it white. Okay. So I'm going to think about this like a stoplight, red and green. Okay, just so I distinguish. I'm going to call usually red as my power, so I'm going to stick it with the yellow. And I need something to complete the path. So I'm gonna make my common a green, and you could pick whatever wire you needed, you know, whatever color. It matters where you run that circuit. Okay, and then last but not least, I've got an extra white wire in my 3 conductor, and I'm just going to attach it to the white wire in the original 8 wire thermostat set. So now I've got my junction of all 3 wires, and what I would do is just simply wrap the remaining, because I've got 5 extra wires from the original thermostat wire that I'm not using with this one. So I'm just going to wrap them around and save them for later. All right. But we have to remember that we went and changed a couple things on our color code. All right. And now we're going to run in this one. We're going to be running our red and green instead of black and yellow, right? We did a little change. Okay. I still have this extra white wire. Okay. So I'm going to use red and green, and that'll be my new one. Okay. I'm going to give this a wrap around here just to hide it out the way. But never run it straight through metal into the unit. Always run it through a grommet or a bushing, whatever you guys call it out in the field where you're at. All right. And now I'll attach to the factory wiring. Okay. So usually in these 2-wire connections like this, it doesn't matter. There's no polarity. As long as you get power to that coil and back to the common on the transformer, it should be fine. Okay. So there's one side. And here's the other one. All right. Give ourselves plenty of room. We got no tension. It should work fine. Let's go inside and see. So we checked the fan. I'm going to test the heat now. I've got the thermostat set to make a call for heat. So what should happen is the thermostat calls for heat, 24 volts on W. The inducer motor starts to turn, creates a draft, closes the pressure switch. After the pressure switch closes, we're going to go into an ignition sequence. This is a spark igniter, so it's going to sound like a spark plug. And then the gas is going to light. 30-45 seconds later, depending on make and model, the indoor blower comes on. So I'll try to put in the sequence of operation for a gas furnace with an air conditioner. There it goes right there. Lit up pretty nicely, and here in just a second we should hear the blower motor come on. And there's the blower. So we know our heat works fine. It went through its startup sequence for the furnace. I'm going to turn the heat off. And then we'll check the air conditioning. Alright, our heat just timed off. Heat exchanger's cool, so the heat cycled off. Now I'm going to turn it in cool, and what we'll do, we'll hear the fan come on, and we'll go outside and make sure the outdoor unit's going on. Alright, there goes our indoor unit. I'm going to put the covers back on. and we'll go outside. There's our number 10 unit, contactor pulled in, compressor and the fans running. At this point, you know, you can check refrigerant pressures, superheat, subcool, whatever you got, but we've identified our unit, we wired it properly, we set the thermostat up properly. The only thing left to do now is to put the covers on and call it a day. So hopefully you enjoyed this. I'm going to do the next half of this video. I'm going to do a package unit real quick. Same principles, but a little bit different look. So hang tight just for a second and I'll show you a package unit.